some exciting new content. Get ready to talk, laugh, live, and love with conversations you can interact with, shows you can plan, and news you can use. Tune in every Tuesday and Thursday at www.intellectualradio.com. Connect with us on Facebook at Mind, Body, and Soul and A&D Conversation, on Instagram at Mind, Body, Soul AD, and via email at mindbodysoulad@gmail.com.
You need wisdom for the mind and your soul. Tune in for the ride. It's mind, body, and soul. An Andy conversation. An Andy conversation. An Andy conversation.
Good evening. You have just tuned into another edition of Mind, Body, and Soul, an A&D conversation. Are you with me?
I'm with you.
You with me today?
I'm here.
Let's try that one more time. One more again. You have just tuned into another edition of Mind, Body, and Soul,
An
A&D
conversation.
All right.
Was that better?
Yeah.
Got it down.
We're so excited to be before you on this afternoon, this ride home.
Yes.
I want to infuse you with some intellectual conversation. We've been having some wonderful conversations over the last few weeks,
Yes.
coming from our listening and viewing audiences. And we have another humdinger, as they say. I don't know what that is.
What?
I've heard that word before when it refers to something extraordinary.
I've heard
And
it when
so-
old folks say it.
Okay, well, I'm drawing from the previous generation. We have another humdinger on tonight. We're excited about.
Ancestors.
Yeah, I can do that. But I'm excited about this show in general.
Why is
I'm
that?
excited about the listeners and the viewers and your interaction with us and the support that we've been getting. Even on the show tonight, we see Eugenia Allison Blakely. Amen. We thank God for her on tonight.
All right.
Latanya Maddox, Charles McCray, Pastor Charles McCray, Demetrius Hunt, Evangelist Demetrius Hunt, and Frank D. Blunt, all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada.
Hey, hey.
He's the one that submitted this
Yes. So we must hear from you
heavy
on tonight.
topic on tonight. Yeah. And so we're excited about the show. There's a few ways you can listen to us. You can go to the station's website at www.intellectualradio.com. You can go to the YouTube page at Mind, Body, and Soul A&D. But you can also check us out on our Facebook page at Mind, Body, and Soul, an A&D Conversation.
Yes.
And we've also shared it on our personal page. And as we're going through now, we're going through and sharing it on some other pages that we're affiliated with. But be sure to like and share. Like and share. It costs you nothing to support. Like and share. This is sure to be an interesting conversation on tonight.
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
I think it will be.
Yeah, it's a little yeah.
It's a little
Yeah.
Okay.
It's interesting, but you know what? These are topics that you, the listening audience, and the viewing audience want us to delve into, and so we are so happy to oblige.
Yes.
And so,
Indeed.
if you've been a part of any of the past few shows, we've dealt with some very touchy topics and some taboo topics. But what I found out is in the kingdom, and we're both a part of the kingdom. That's why I love about this show.
Hallelujah.
In the kingdom, we tend to kind of shy away from certain topics, and sometimes it's just out of fear. We don't know what quite to say, but these are very, very interesting topics and very relevant topics that people want addressed. And so we're going to address some stuff tonight.
Okay.
That's what we're going to do.
You sound like you're ready.
I think I'm ready.
All right.
We're gonna see how ready I am. But I'm another thing. I'm enjoying this. How are you enjoying this weather?
You enjoying today's weather?
Well, I asked you a question.
Wait, well, okay, because you prefaced it by saying you enjoying it, then you asked me. No, I'm not enjoying the cold. I'm not gonna say that I am.
You know what? I don't mind the cold.
Well, God
I
bless
don't
your
mind the cold.
soul. I mind
What
it.
I don't like is the going back and forth.
True, because that will
You know,
definitely
I'm
make you
actually
sick.
I'm actually fine. You know, because I have certain coats and certain jackets, and
He
I
got a
don't.
lot of coats and
I got a
jackets.
lot of coats, and naturally and spiritually, got a lot of coats. But I
Oh,
don't
he
mind.
fired up tonight.
I don't mind the cold because it gives me an opportunity to wear what I got in my closet.
Okay.
You know,
You want to show out?
a little
You gonna
bit.
do a little?
Sometimes I
You
want to
want to do a
show
little
up.
fashion show out in the
Now
street?
I know we ain't talking about no fashion show.
Okay, you know. Okay,
I know you didn't bring up fashion show.
Sorry, my fault. My fault.
Yeah.
Just
Reel
act
that
like I
back
didn't
in.
even say that.
But what I don't like is the back and forth because that's what facilitates flu season and all of that kind of stuff.
True, it will, and
so
if you're not careful,
that's
and we especially when you don't wear your coat when it's real cold.
yeah. She busted me out a couple of days ago. I didn't have my coat on. I went outside, and then the very next day I was kind of battling. You know, so coincidence? I think not.
I tell you,
she called me.
I tell you,
She called me slipping.
You see how the Lord works?
Yeah.
My. but we are pumped about tonight. Tonight is going to be another great topic, and if we're not pumped about it and excited about this show, who's going to be? Right?
Yeah, we got to be excited about it. I know they're excited about it too. What we don't want you to be is scared. Call in. Don't just listen to us talk. Call in and engage in this conversation. We want to hear from you.
You are really pumped tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited.
But that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because you know that energies kind of jump
contagious.
off. Well, that's good. That's good. All right. So yeah, we are glad that you guys are here. He's already instructed you to go ahead and like and share when you come into the live feed. We appreciate it. We thank you in advance for doing it, because you guys are so supportive of us, and we appreciate it. So there are others that came in. Elder Sledge, did you call his name? Latoya Gibson, Darnell Leak, Jarita, thanks for watching. Aura, appreciate you. We see you on Brandy. Eugenia. Did I pronounce that right? Allison. And I'm not gonna do I'm not gonna do the last name, but I know she's Allison.
Yeah.
All right. Auntie Deborah, I see you. Prophetess Stacker, thanks for watching. Gary Triplett, we see you and appreciate you, my brother, for watching on tonight. Frank says, wow, see, they always tell us right. Oh, okay. Well, I'm not sure. Thank you, wives of God. Okay. All righty. Well, we're going to see what that's all about. But yeah, we do have a hot topic on tonight. And but before we do that, we like to go into our current events. Michelle Thomas, thank you so much for supplying us with what we have on tonight.
All right.
Hot on the current event, of course, is none other than R. Kelly himself. Now, what did y'all hear that laugh? Did you?
Lord have mercy.
I don't know where that came from, and I don't know where it's going, but keep it over there. No, I'm just kidding. No, but seriously,
it's one of them sinister laughs.
Yeah,
that's all that activity, all that R. Kelly activity was sinister.
It was sinister.
Yeah.
Now see that R. Kelly, and you know what? They submit topics and stuff. Now R. Kelly was on that list. I'm not gonna touch that one because everybody else touching it. I'm gonna let everybody else talk about R. Kelly. But this story here about R. Kelly says R. Kelly parties at a Southside nightclub as legal pressures mount. So this happened last night, I suppose, and I guess
he's unbothered.
He's exactly. That's a
unbothered.
Perfect descriptive word of him right now. Obviously, it says he partied at a Southside nightclub into early Thursday as he continues to face new allegations of sexual abuse and an eviction from his near West Side recording studio. At about 1 a.m., Chicago police responded to the V75 Club in the 100 block of West 75th Street after a caller said he was there and that he had an outstanding warrant. What? Okay.
Wow.
However, no arrest was made because there was no warrant. And then the rest of the story just says, in cell phone video, the Chicago native delivered an obscenity-laced performance to a cheering crowd. So that was big news. All right. Let's see. What else do we have here? I mean, it's like, wasn't there like a protest or something going on too?
Well, I think it's called mute or silence R. Kelly, something like that. Because what's happening is because these new allegations have surfaced and he's getting, free publicity, his downloads and his streaming,
Yeah, that's true.
it has gone up
That's true.
20 something percent, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So he's
And
benefiting.
yeah, he's benefiting, and that's one of the reasons why he's unbothered. We tend to make deities out of celebrities and people who have made it out of the hood, and they can do no wrong, so to speak.
Right.
And it's really unfortunate because so much evidence has come out about this, undeniable evidence has come out about this, and the fact that he's so unbothered by it really is a testament of his character, his arrogance.
Else.
He feels untouchable, which kind of facilitates, further activity in that, if you think nobody's going to do anything about it, then you're going to continue.
Well, you have to understand, this was his way of life. And it was not only his way of life, it's the way of life of many of them.
Yeah.
Just as and I know this is kind of taking us in, another way, but just as you look at the Bill Cosby situation, of course, he's behind bars now, but I always said that, I heard rather, when all of the stories started really, really breaking about Bill Cosby, one thing that I heard that stuck with me, somebody in the industry said that this was an open secret.
Mm-hmm.
Their actions, everything that they do, the allegations of rape, the rape, all of that. They said it's an open secret in that industry. So, those are two contradictory terms there. Okay. But that just meant that this is exactly what they do all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, okay, Cosby went down for it. Some others probably went down for it. And then there's so many others that are probably not going to go down for it, because this was something that happens, or is something that happens continually. And they're only blowing the whistle on so many.
Well, and then what it is as long as the secret benefits them, then why expose
There you
it?
go. There you go.
And my major concern and the heartbreak that I experienced just in this story is just, okay, there have been some allegations where some parents even knew and were complicit.
Yeah.
To certain activities.
Yes, signed things.
Certain relationships, and that's just really, really unfortunate when you think about it. And so, I haven't watched any of the documentary.
I haven't either.
Yeah, I don't know if I will, but I just haven't felt.
I may.
Yeah, I just haven't felt the urge to watch it.
Right.
But he's getting a lot of publicity concerning this, and somebody who has that type of mindset knows how to take this and use this as leverage to rebound from and come back. I'm gonna drop another album. You know what I mean? So
is he saying that?
No, I'm just saying. He's clever. He's very clever, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And again, this is his way of life. Yeah. So this is the only way that he really knows, to be honest with you. The man needs a lot of help.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to another story.
Yeah.
Milwaukee County bus driver rescues baby wandering barefoot on freeway overpass. Did you see that?
No.
It says a heart-stopping video captured a bus driver rescuing a baby girl that she spotted along a freeway overpass. And I guess this happened last month. Why are we just now hearing about it? I don't know. But they said the bus driver spotted the child running on the side of the road just before 8 a.m. on December 22nd. The child, who was less than 1 year old, was barefoot and wearing only a onesie and a diaper. Something's wrong with this. Wow. She stopped her bus. She ran across the busy street and picked up the crying child, then brought her on board her bus. A passenger on the bus took off her jacket to help keep the girl warm as the bus driver comforted the girl, who quickly fell asleep in her arms. And let's see, besides cold and scared, the girl was unharmed. So the police said the girl had been left outside by her mother, who may have been suffering from a mental health crisis. Oh, my goodness. The authorities eventually reunited the girl with her father. And then they also said this is the ninth lost or missing child found by Milwaukee County Transit System drivers in recent years. What? That's disheartening.
It's sad.
That hurts. And these people, I'm telling y'all, these people need help. I mean, mental help, seriously. And they have these babies. They have children. What, I mean,
you got to watch children even when you're not impaired. You know what I mean? I remember.
You said that's so nice, impaired.
Yeah, I in my subdivision, I was coming home when this was a few years ago in the summer, and there was a like a 1.5-year-old baby in diapers just playing in the street.
Wow.
You know, and I stopped and just watched the child. Of course, I didn't want, I had to think, because, okay, do I grab the child? Or is anybody that sees me grab them going to think that I'm doing something?
Right.
I was really stuck,
Yeah.
so I sat and I watched, and then I just kind of looked around and I saw an open front door that was kind of left open. And I said, well, that child must have came from that house. So I just kind of grabbed the child by the hand and just walked and rang the doorbell. And the person came. I said, does this child belong to this house? And of course they were surprised and shocked. I said, well, she was out in the street. And the look that they gave me was like, they were angry at me.
Get out.
Yeah.
Because you called them out on their stuff.
Yeah.
That's what that was.
And so I said, no harm done. I said, I'm just returning.
No harm, no foul.
A child that was wandering in the street.
And then if anything had happened, then.
Yeah. So watch your children.
Please watch your children. If you're just not joining us, we're going over our current events that we normally like to do at the beginning of the show. We do thank you for joining us. We will be getting into our topic very, very shortly. And so many of you are probably tuning in so that you can hear that. Have you guys heard of any current events that you want to share with us? You can actually type them in on the live feed if you're there. Current events maybe we haven't even talked about that maybe have grabbed your attention. So much is going on. Of course, the government shutdown is continuing. They said Trump acted like a baby and walked out of the negotiations. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing. We need to pray. That's what the word says. Pray for this man.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's continuing on. And then so many people are affected. I think they even had like a, not a strike, but they did something downtown today, where these government workers are protesting. Basically, because they their jobs, their livelihoods are being affected now. And that's something that we definitely need to seriously look at and pray about and pray for, because I think they said here in Chicago, over 800 government employees or something like that are being affected.
I know nationally it's over 800,000. They said I heard this morning.
Okay.
Over 800,000 employees being affected.
This stuff is serious, and he gonna go.
They won't get a check next week.
45 gonna say, "Oh, they understand because they know I'm doing the right thing."
Yeah, well, there's so many things that weren't well thought out about this.
Definitely.
I think that he thought that he was going to bully his way, and this was going to be a standoff. And this is turning out to be the longest government shutdown in the nation's history.
Crazy.
And so it's really sad, because all this patriotism, all this, and Coast Guards and Coast Guard families and people that are connected to arms, Army and Navy and, law enforcement, they're being affected by his decision, and it's a standoff, really.
Yeah. I don't know. Many of you that are listening, are any of your family members, are you directly being affected by this government shutdown? I don't know if any of you are government employees or what have you. How are you handling it? Maybe that's a current event you can share with us on tonight.
And the crazy thing about it is it's all about national security. And this shutdown is going to make us vulnerable in the area of national security.
For sure.
So
you think about
it's not well thought out.
It's not. And many people are like, no, I'm not going to work if I'm not going to get paid.
Right.
And, rightly so. You're going out laboring and doing it and everything. And you're not getting a dime for it, and don't know when you're going to. Let's see. I don't know the name of this restaurant. I don't know how you pronounce it. Rather, is it Poke or Pokey? Poke restaurant. Poke restaurant. They said a manager was fired after allegedly throwing a chair at a black teen.
A manager?
Mm-hmm. Chicago, the Poke restaurant in Chicago's Loop. The manager was fired after he allegedly threw a chair at a black teen on Thursday.
Good.
They said that he said good. He alleges that the teen clenched his fist and made a threat, according to a police report. The teen, a high school student, was walking past the restaurant last week when Fezzi motioned him to come inside to confront him and then threw a chair at him. So the manager.
So he initiated.
Everything.
So he need to go sit down, have a seat.
Yeah.
Have a seat behind bars.
Behind bars.
Yeah.
Have a seat there. Okay. That was a horrible clink.
That was. I was gonna let that slide. Let me give you my.
I can laugh at myself. Go ahead.
My current event.
What do you have?
Centoya Brown. I don't know if you guys been following this.
Who is she?
Centoya Brown was granted clemency after serving 15 years in prison for killing a man who bought her for sex. She was a part of a victim of sex trade as a teenager. Okay,
I think I briefly heard about this story.
And he bought her and was holding her against her will. And she, in order to break free from him, I think he was in his 40s, 41 or 43, worked in corporate America, white, Caucasian gentleman. She killed him. And she was 16 years old at the time. It says, Centoya Denise Brown, a woman serving a life sentence for killing a man who bought her for sex when she was 16 years old, was granted clemency, the Tennessee governor's office said Monday. Brown, who's 30 now, will be released on to parole supervision on August the 7th after serving 15 years in prison.
So she'll be let out this year?
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
She shouldn't have been given that life sentence, if you ask me. If she was bought for sex and a part of that's a victim of sex trade, that should have been something that was what do they call it? Self-defense.
Yeah. For sure.
Because even during the trial, she was trying to let them know that, okay, she feared for her life. And I thought that he would never let me go. And if I attempted to leave, that he would kill me, because he said that several times.
Lord have mercy. And then she had to go to jail for it.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad she's getting out. It's that human trafficking, and that's probably, I know that's a show I definitely want to venture into. I want to talk about that at some point, because it's serious. I was just actually speaking with someone on last night. We were kind of had a conference call about something else, and they were mentioning to me about an individual that they knew that had been a victim. They're now free and living their own life now, but that they have a story to tell. They definitely,
and it's so prevalent. We don't even really know. I mean, people are snatching young girls up on a daily basis. There was a story that came out, I believe, in New York, somewhere on the East Coast, where a man woke up in the morning to a young girl screaming, and he ran outside with his bat, and he noticed a man was literally trying to pull her into his van.
Wow.
A man that she didn't know. And when they finally tracked the guy down, he turned out to be a registered sex offender.
Horrible.
And so our young girls are being snatched up daily.
And we don't realize it.
Yeah,
we do not realize it. Okay, I think that's enough for the news, because Jesus is the answer. No, let me stop.
Yeah.
He is the answer. There's just so many things that's happening.
We have to pray.
But yeah, we just need to be conscious. We just like to make you guys aware of current events when we come on. Again, there may be things that you've seen or whatever, or sometimes you hate to look at the news, but you need to, sometimes, so you can just be made aware and your surroundings, because things are happening all around us. So let's be prayerful, guys. What we're going to do right now, let me just give a couple more shout outs. And then what we're going to do is take a quick break, and then we'll come back and get into tonight's topic. I see you, Beatrice. Thank you for watching. Josh Matoyer, appreciate you. Diana, how are you? Misha is on. Thanks for watching. Elder Kevin McGee and Demetri Brown Triplet. Is that Marquetta Brown?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for watching. Appreciate you on tonight.
Woman of
God. Elder Phillip, I don't think I called your name. Cosette, Arafat, Darcy, Carnett, Lori. Thank you so much for watching on tonight. Do not go anywhere, guys. We are going to take a quick break. We're going to come back for tonight's topic. And was it Frank D. Blunt. Frank D. Blunt suggested this topic. So I trust that you are still on hand.
Brother Frank.
Yes, so that you can engage in this conversation with us. But we want everybody's opinions and thoughts, questions. We have comments, and I'm going to be reading from an earlier post in relation to this as well. We're going to ask you to call in 708-223-8953. Again, 708-223-8953. Lock that number in, because we're going to want you to call in on tonight. Take a quick break. We're going to come back for more of Mind, Body, and Soul and A&D Conversation.
It may be raining outside, the sun is gonna shine again. Just wait and see. Hold your head high. The sun is gonna shine again on you and me. It may be cloudy outside, the sun is gonna shine again. Just wait and see. Hold your head high. The sun is gonna shine again on you and me. Things are looking so good, just didn't turn out the way you thought that it should. Seems like it's cloudy all day long, but the storm will pass and you can sing a new song. But you gotta keep your head up high, and know that you're never alone. In Him you can rely. Your storm will pass, just wait and see. Don't ever lose faith in humanity. When the winds are blowing and the skies are gray, trust in Him, He'll make a way. The sun is gonna shine again. Just wait and see. Hold your head up high. The sun is gonna shine again. Take your burdens and leave them there.
There's a brighter day on the way. Just pray.
The sun is gonna shine. The sun will shine again. Hold your head high. Hold your head up. The sun is gonna shine again. Now let's go. Philippians 4:7. Everybody's going through something, but you gotta keep your head up. In spite of your situation, the sun is on. And when you can't work it out, He'll make a way. 'Cause He is good. Can I get a hey? Now throw your hands up. The sun is on. And let it shine. Tell them, Keon. Shine. It may endure for a night, but joy's gonna come in the morning. Believe it. I'm talking to you. Just hold on, He'll see you through. All the way to the sky. Receive that. You can't believe that. Hold your head high. The sun
is gonna shine again.
It can be you. It can be you, Apostle.
And we are back with another edition of Mind, Body, and Soul,
An A&D conversation.
I had to touch her. Saw her
It's
on,
hilarious.
y'all should have saw her on the break. She got some moves, y'all.
I don't know what you're talking about.
She got some moves.
What you talking about? Didn't nobody see nothing.
Yeah, she was dancing, y'all. She was dancing.
Didn't nobody see nothing.
And it was such a joy to watch. It was such a joy to watch.
Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome back. We did just a quick break so that we can get away from all that sad current events and get into our topic on tonight. Anthony Mickey Thomas, I see you on. Daryl V. Smith, Timothy Ellington, thank you for watching. We appreciate you. Now, we want, again, you all to get involved in tonight's conversation.
Yes.
Do not leave us here hanging. We would appreciate it. Tag as many people as you know that can help to engage. Let them know that My Body and Soul A&D is on. Annette and Dion, Apostle Dion, excuse me, are going to try and venture off into this question. You want to read the question that we were presented with in terms of the topic itself?
It was women pastors who are married. What is the power dynamic at home? What does that look like? And it's just a question that makes you say, what's up with that? Because we're in a day and age now where there's a lot of powerful, very relevant, anointed, gift female women pastors and leaders, apostles, bishops, even, and their anointing and their gifting and their effectiveness is undeniable in the pulpit. It's undeniable.
What's that mean?
Their authority is undeniable within the confines of the church. And I haven't seen, and I'm not saying that this doesn't exist. I'm sure it does from their perspective. And maybe it's because they do a wonderful job hiding it. But I'm sure, I haven't seen it, but I'm sure that there's certain pastors, even within the church, who get kickback or pushback from certain males, even within the church, because they are female. I think that's in any industry or any kind of career. That's something that women deal with that we don't, as men, don't are not privy to. We don't understand. And so I'm sure that that's there. But also, for the most part, especially the women pastors and leaders that I've seen and come in contact with, they're highly anointed, highly gifted, not highly anointed for a woman, just anointed, period.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And they have all this ability and all of this anointing and authority, and they walk in it. But in the case that when they are married and have husbands who may not be of the cloth, maybe their husbands are not, they're saved, but they don't hold a leadership role within the church.
I want to ask you something on that. Now, are we just focusing on those whose spouses are not, that don't hold?
Or maybe they're unsaved.
Okay, but what if it's a situation where they both are, and they're both in leadership positions? Because you do have what they call it, pastors and then co-pastors or something like that.
And I've seen that.
Yeah,
I've seen that where one is an apostle, one is a prophet, or one is an apostle, and the other is a pastor. And you would automatically think or assume that the male is the apostle, and then go from there. But we're living in a day and age now where that's not always the case. You cannot assume that.
right.
And so what does that, and we know how things work in the church. But what do you see at home? How does that work at home? That's what the question was.
Yeah, in terms of the dynamic of so basically, here you have these powerful women, in the pulpit, so to speak.
Mhm.
And I'm assuming, and you know what, Blunt, does he have a title? Is he a pastor?
I believe he's an elder.
Okay. Elder Blunt, whatever your type, would you mind calling in? If you are able, 708-223-8953. Frank Blunt, yes, I'm calling you to the phone. If you could call us on tonight, because he's the one that suggested this topic. But maybe it's a lot of times I like to hear from the individuals who suggested, just to see exactly what their thoughts were when they came up with this question.
Mhm.
Maybe there's a background story, I don't know, that you want to share with us, or just give a little bit more clarity, because I did have some individuals that I tagged on the post and they wanted clarity as to exactly what he meant by that, so that they could answer in the correct way. I received a lot of responses, but if you're able, sir, if you can please call us and join in on tonight's conversation. So we want to know, and because we're just going to give it from our own perspective, what we're thinking that you're meaning right now. What are your dynamics at home? If you're in a leadership position, women of God, and then when you get home, do you get quiet? Do you? And not that I'm trying to, not that we're trying to get in your business, not in that
Please
sense.
say that, please, because we're not trying to peer into your home. This is not. This
want
is
to know
just
how that
something
dynamic
right
works.
that we want to understand.
Yeah.
Because one thing about when you look at leaders, a lot of times have a type A personality.
Yes.
And there's a lot of characteristics that come into that type A personality. You're not going to have all of these characteristics, but these characteristics are very prevalent in a person in leadership. Leaders can be aggressive, leaders can be ambitious, some can be controlling and highly competitive, preoccupied with status or the condition of whatever it is they are trying to move forward. Leaders can be workaholics, hostile, even lack patience. We know how leaders can be, because leaders set a pace, and leaders, from a leader standpoint, our job is to get something out of the people, because ultimately we are commissioned by God.
Sure.
And we have an assignment from God, and we have to Jesus dealt with a parable of a man whose job it was to get certain things out of other people.
Right.
And so as a leader, our job, I believe it was the unjust steward, our job is to get certain things out of people. And because of this, we can be forceful, we can be impatient, we can be, from your perspective. And so if leaders have this type A personality, and
how does that work at home when you're married?
Right. And how does that, male or female?
Yeah.
Let's look at it even from that standpoint, male or female. Do you take that same personality home and deal with your spouse?
That's deep. That's a loaded question. And we want you guys to help us answer this on tonight. What are your thoughts? David McWilliams, Tracy Kincaid. How are you, Larry? We just played Forecast. Larry Jones is the producer, and he's also singing on that. That's the one that said, sing it, Keon.
Hey.
Say it, Keon. That was him. All right. Joe Hill from Las Vegas. Thanks for watching. Tyrone, we appreciate you. Hey, Crystal. How are you? Thanks for tagging Elder Hayes, Dimitri, appreciate that. Let me give, and I'm glad you gave those characteristics of a leader. So there are a few famous female pastors and or ministry leaders that many of us know. I pulled up a list here, and number one, guess who's number one? Paula White. I know you guys know her, right? Paula Michelle White, an international Christian evangelist and teacher, TV personality, author, and philanthropist.
Mm-hmm.
She's the senior pastor of New Destiny Christian Center in Florida. They said it's a non-denominational multicultural church whose membership ranges in the thousands.
Mm-hmm.
She also hosts a television show, Paula White Today, produced by Paula White Ministries. This woman is making a lot of money now. It also said here that she was a former co-pastor of Without Walls International Church.
Yes.
That she co-founded with her pastor and then husband Randy White.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I was accurate in remembering that. I don't think she's married anymore. I think they got a divorce.
They got a divorce.
Okay. Wonder why.
I don't even want to get in there.
I mean, I'm just saying. Could it have been even like what we're talking about tonight?
But you know what? That's a very good question, because we carry mentalities. For me, ministry is my workplace. And even in corporate America, you have a long day at work, you have a hard day at work. Sometimes you carry that mentality home.
Yes.
And you operate out of the mentality of your career at home. And sometimes it just doesn't mix. And sometimes, as an apostle or as a pastor, I cannot make the mistake of instructing my wife out of the realm of authority of the apostolic, because that can mix and it can be oil and water sometimes.
Yes, it can.
You know what I mean? And I have to recognize, as a leader and as a husband, as a pastor and as a husband, that there are times when, this particular thing that I'm dealing with, my wife or my home, this is me as a husband and father.
I'm going to say, leave the apostle.
Right. I leave that. It's like I take that robe or that coat. We were talking about coats. I take that coat off,
mm-hmm.
and I put on a different coat. And I think that's what this is really dealing with. Is there some overlap? Is there some overlap with this?
Right. You're going to come back home and, well, let me be quiet. Okay.
Say it.
Ooh-wee. Okay. Number 2 is Juanita Bynum.
Okay.
Let's move on. Number 3.
Well, no.
Back it up.
No. We can,
that was interesting.
That was very interesting. Juanita Bynum, and Bishop Weeks.
Was that the
yes.
ex-husband? Okay.
I believe he has since remarried.
Has he?
Yeah.
Now was that her only marriage?
That I'm not sure.
I mean, because she's the famous, No More Sheets,
Mm-hmm.
all she dealt with the sexual promiscuity that she was, involved in herself. And then she believed the Lord had helped her, through that. And to say No More Sheets, but she's based out of Chicago.
Yes.
So I mean, what else did you want to say about her?
Well, I'm just saying, there's certain things that happened with her that were played out, just across, in the media, and could it be what we're talking about? She's this awesome anointed vessel whose name is almost like a household name, Juanita Bynum, even without the Weeks, Juanita Bynum, we know her. And Bishop Weeks, although, his name was prominent, but she was the one, she was the name.
Yes.
And so,
because I didn't know anything about the man she married.
Well, a lot of us knew him because of her.
Exactly.
And it's not to dilute him or not to make light of him, because he had some significant work that he had done and is doing, but how did that work with them at home? You see, because I
don't think too well.
Well, we know some things that happened, but just the whole mentality behind two people who have their own and they merge to become one, that dynamic in and of itself, because you have this mindset, well, I was this or I was that before we came together.
Right.
You see, and so it's just very interesting how those things play out.
Yeah, definitely. I see a comment on here. Thanks, Wanda, for watching. And your comment says, I feel if a wife is in a masculine energy when at work, we have to know when to go back into our feminine energy at home.
What is a masculine
Energy.
energy?
I like the way she said that,
I
though.
like the way she said it too.
Yeah.
But I
But
think
just what you just described, though, I believe is what she meant by
right,
masculine energy.
but you know what? Isn't that just authority? I think that we, and this might be a reason why some men are intimidated by women in powerful positions, because for them to walk in that arena, there's certain ways that they have to do that. Now, I believe that a woman can do that and not relinquish her femininity.
True.
I think a lot of times
Your wife is a great example of that
yeah,
to me.
yeah. A lot of times, she's soft spoken. She's, she doesn't raise her voice. She just is who she is. But a lot of times as a man, if you're used to the one at the helm, if you're used to the one pulling the strings, to have to submit that to a woman now may be intimidating for some men.
Yeah.
You see, but I think that with the women pastors and preachers that I know who may hold a position in the church that is considered superior to their husband, I don't see them usurping that authority at home. I think a lot of women have the wisdom to say, okay, this is a realm that I occupy. See, authority comes in realms. And a lot of authority, some authority in some realms is not transferable in another realm.
Okay.
And so just because I hold a position in this space to a whole nother space and not have the same level of effectiveness or authority or whatever you want to call it, I don't have that same position here. And so I think a lot of women, they are intelligent enough and wise enough to understand that within this realm, I am who I am. But within that realm, I know how to adjust. And I think the dynamic should be okay that, and God said it, that the man of the household. And I think that there is room, there is space, and there's enough wisdom. You can navigate through that. Where okay, when I come out of the pulpit, after I laid hands and prophesied and slang sweat and anointed oil and laid in the floor and all this stuff has happened, I can come home and I can be a wife to treat him as the king of that household.
Yeah.
You see, I think a lot of women know how to. Now, is that 100%? Probably not. Hence the question.
The question.
But I think there's a lot of women out there who know how to do it. But on the flip side, and I know this is not what this show is about. On the flip side, like I said earlier, there are some men pastors and men leaders. I'm a pastor. I'm a senior pastor. I'm an apostle. But I'm not the apostle of my household. I'm the husband and father of my household.
I like
and
that.
So, and I have to be very careful because my wife is a grown woman. You
right.
see, and she's a grown woman. She's an intelligent woman. She's a wise woman. And so I have to treat her as such. And not be, she's not my member at home. She's
there you
my
go.
wife.
Come on now. As you're talking, you reminded me a friend of mine who is an elder in the church. He tells of this quite often about how when he was married, that he would come home something because he was so dedicated to the church or whatever, and then so he would come home. He said one time he came home and his wife so I guess he had an office in his house. His wife came down and said that she wanted to have a meeting with him, but she said she wanted to have a meeting with the husband, not the elder.
See.
And if I'm and I may be getting the story kind of, I'm leaving some things out, but I think she actually set up an appointment. She went through and set up an appointment with him, said, but I want to meet with the husband, not the elder. Take that collar off.
See.
And there were some things that she wanted to get an understanding of around the home and with the marriage and everything. So she's like, no, take the collar off. I want to talk to you, my husband.
And and I want to interject there because, and we can say things like, yeah, I'm apostolic, or I'm prophetic, or I'm this, or I'm that. I can't help it. I'm apostolic in everything I do. I'm prophetic in and that's a legit thing though. It's
right.
For some of us, we have to deliberately turn that off.
Right.
But I think it's worthwhile to do it though, because if I'm married to an apostle, there are certain times that I don't need the apostle right now.
Not at all.
Hence the show we had a couple days ago.
We had a couple of days ago.
You know what I mean?
I'm there.
I want my wife.
Yes.
In this space.
And I don't need you preaching and
I don't
speaking in tongues at that time.
Right. Take the collar off. Take the robe off.
Right.
And so that's a good analogy. I don't walk around in my apostolic robe at home.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so because if I'm always doing that, then I'm robbing my wife and my children of a husband and a father. And
you're cheating yourself too.
And I'm cheating myself from that experience too. And so I think the same thing is flipped when it comes to a woman. A wise woman builds her house. She knows how to turn certain things off and submit herself. But the Bible talks about wives being submitted to their husbands. I'm reminded of the story when Jacob, I think it was Isaac, who was it? Isaac and Rebecca, I believe it was, who someone was trying to find a wife for Rebecca. Isaac was trying to find a wife for Rebecca. No. Isaac. He was trying to find a wife, and he came across Rebecca. That's correct. What it was. But when he came across Rebecca, Rebecca was on a horse.
Right.
She was on a horse, and when she happened upon him, she saw him, and immediately, the Bible says when she saw him, she lighted off, or she got off her horse. And Dr. Hunt, it takes Dr. Hunt to really explain this and deal with this.
So sure.
Because he was talking about how the fact that when she saw him, she could not, before they interacted with one another, she could not bear to be above him. So she deliberately came from this higher place, came off her horse.
Interesting.
Off of her high horse, so that she could be able to deal with who would become her husband. And I think there's a whole lot of wisdom in that not just even in the kingdom, not just even in the church, there's some women out there, even in corporate America, that have some very, very powerful jobs and very, very powerful positions. What if you're the CEO of a company and you marry someone who's a garbage man or a janitor?
Garbage man make a lot of money.
Or,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
A janitor, and these are respectable jobs,
right?
But we don't give the same type of fanfare to each one. And so, what do you do? What does that look like at home? Do you treat him like he's substandard at home, or do you? Because you're dealing with people of this caliber all day. 9 times out of 10, every man that you come across that day is at least in corporate America.
Mm-hmm.
And then you come home and you're dealing with a husband who may not be employed on that level or that stature. How do you How do you shift your mindset when you've been used to all day long giving directives and telling people what to do?
You really have to know how to deal with people at their level. So you can't. I see comments on here. Wanda even said, I think some people have ego when they're in positions of authority and may not know how to manage their ego at home.
Yeah.
So then you have to adjust, as you were saying. You can't. I mean, and really, it is as simple as that. So I can't. If I'm in a certain position at work or at church, leadership position, then I know I can't bring that. I mean, that's like not bringing your work home. I can't bring that into the house and expect, my house to run, smoothly with the methods that I use at work.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to adjust to whomever you're dealing with. And I think that's going to be the key, even in, I mean, I'm not, a woman pastor or whatever, or ministry leader, but I think that's going to be the key of knowing who, if I can say it like this, who your audience is, knowing who you're dealing with, and deal accordingly. So I mean, you can't get it mixed up. I guess basically, bottom line is what I'm trying to say. You really cannot get it mixed up. Carolyn Gale says here, the husband is the head of his wife. In Genesis 16, God said unto the woman, he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. In this text, God told Eve that woman would experience a desire to be independent or even to be in charge, but Eve was to follow her husband's leadership. So even from the Garden of Eve, man was in charge. We say that.
Absolutely. And she she laid it out that there is something in a woman that drives her. And I want to use the words that she used. A desire to be independent or even to be in charge. But Eve was to follow her husband's leadership. But also, I think that equally in a woman, every woman wants to be with a man that she looks up to.
For sure.
I really do believe that. I believe ultimately that's what she wants.
That makes a big difference.
There's a scripture in Ephesians 5:33. It says, nevertheless, every one of you in particular so love his wife, even as himself. Then it says, and the wife see that she reverence her husband. What is Paul talking about when he says, wife see that she reverence her husband? I believe that a wife wants to reverence her husband and respect. But here's what that word reverence means among many things. It's from a word in the Greek that's phobio, which means fear or to frighten, to be alarmed, to revere, afraid, reverence. But I don't want to focus on those. There's also, it also means to be in awe of. So look at it in this context, that every woman, a wife really wants to be in awe of her husband.
I would agree.
You know what I mean? A wife wants to look at her husband, and we want our wives to look at us and say, wow, at the type of man that he is.
Yes.
And not, and a wise woman is able to do that, even if, here's where the difficulty comes in. You cannot grade a man with the wrong standards.
Okay.
And so sometimes we can look at a person and say they are this type of person, but we're really grading them on a type of standard that is really not applicable to them. And so it's like trying to grade a fish on its ability to climb a tree.
Right.
Or a monkey's ability to swim, you got the wrong criteria.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you are a woman pastor or a woman preacher or a woman and you're around males of that caliber, to come home and grade or put a standard on your husband who may not be in that arena, I think is a disservice to him. You have to kind of grade him separately. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And determine his value set aside from that particular arena. And so, but to get back to what I was saying, every woman, I think, really wants to be in awe of her husband. And if she can find something, she can look at him and say, wow, I love the way he does this, or I love the way he does that. I think that can save that, or fix that problem.
Yeah. For sure.
You got to do something for even if you're the husband that's the apostle or the preacher you got to be able to do something for your wife that makes her say, wow. Look
I like that. Yeah, I would agree. I would definitely agree with that. You guys join in on this conversation. 708-223-8953. Again, 708-223-8953. We want to hear from you. The phone lines are wide open. I'm not sure if Blunt is watching or not. If you don't want to call in, or if maybe you're not able to, but we would love to hear from you since you're the one that presented us with this. Lady Iris Reed, how are you? Thanks for watching on tonight. Eric Teverball, I see you, my cousin. Thanks for watching. Teresa, we appreciate you. Let me make sure I got the comments that are on here before I go to the ones that are on the post. Brandy says, Apostle, that's good. Had Rebecca been led by her ego or a higher position, she never would have gotten her husband. That's a pretty deep story there. A lot that goes into that. Let's see. On the post from earlier, I see some comments from individuals that I did tag that are in ministry. Some are in leadership positions. And even on my post, I also mentioned, because I didn't want people to feel left out of this conversation if they were not a woman pastor or a woman ministry leader. If you have been maybe close to someone in ministry, maybe you've observed how things are with them. You could be a pastor's kid, or someone that has just been in under that ministry for a while, and you've observed some things. We want to hear your thoughts on tonight as well. Let's see, from Apostle Sharon Peters, her response to the question is, our power becomes meekness, meaning the females becomes meekness, not weakness, but meekness.
Mm-hmm.
And she put in parentheses, strength and power under control. Our power becomes meekness under control. And the meekness, she's meaning strength and power. And then she said hashtag the end. So that was her point blank statement. What do you think about that?
I believe that's true. But she's saying that as a wife.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And as a female apostle, I believe she co-pastors with him.
Yes. And you know what? Even as a female apostle or pastor, I think, and there's certain women in leadership and those leadership positions that I see how they deal with even just men in general. They have a wisdom of how to deal. It's like a mother who, there was a way that she dealt with her young son who was a boy, but then when he comes of age, she deals with him totally different. She sees the man in him. And so because she sees the man in him, even in giving out and metering out authority, she is wise enough to use certain words to get him to do what she needs him to do, but not damage his manhood in the process. You know what I mean?
I like
and
that.
I think that's a very wise way to approach leadership in general. I think men even, we have to be careful about how we deal with other men and how we deal with other adults. Some of us in the kingdom, we allow the title that we hold to it's almost like a badge that gives you the right or the authority to treat people a certain way, you know? And I've never really subscribed to that. I've always treated people like they were adults. I've always treated people with respect. There's a certain line that I would not cross. I know that I have authority, but if I cross this line, that is control. And so I'm not going to control you because you're an adult and you're a grown up. And so I got to be very careful that authority and control, if I'm not wise, it'll look the same to me.
Right.
You know? And so I got to know when I'm crossing certain lines. And so there's a lot of women out there who know how to navigate that. And they do it every day when they come home to their husband. You know, they're in the pulpit, they're very effective. But when they get home, their husband got a hot meal. You know,
right.
Because and they don't see how that, for them, it doesn't take away anything, you know, from them. And so I say that as it relates to me. It doesn't take away from who I am as a leader to kind of take that hat off when I come home and focus on being a husband and a father.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. All right, that's good stuff. There's a question here on the live feed from Brandy. She said, is there such thing as a masculine authority and a feminine authority? And I think she went back to what the question or the statement that Wanda made earlier.
I think authority is authority. I think the way we meter it out, it's dependent on the personality of the individual. You know, I think it depends on the personality. But definitely, I can see what she's saying, because like I said, even in the context of what I just said, there are certain women in leadership who, and maybe they do it, and they do it just to be accepted. I mean, think about that. You know, if I say it this way, he's not going to do it. So let me just kind of use my craftiness and let me use my influence as a woman or even as a mother to get this across. Because if I say it with too much force, he's going to buck up.
Yeah.
You know, and so in that respect, I believe just the way that we display it and the way that we measure it out and meter it out, it takes on the personality of the person.
Okay. Hopefully that answered your question, Brandy. Let me know. Let's see here. Another comment from the post earlier. Dr. Monica Lloyd says, well, she kind of had a question and then she answered that question that she had. She says, are you referring to the power dynamic in the sense of control, domineering, and or puissance, or in the essence of capabilities, skillfulness, endowment, and influence? So she's answering
and as it relates to capacity versus misuse of authority. Is that what she's saying?
Yeah. So she says it will be more fruitful in the power dynamic of the home. Meaning, okay, so let me back up. In the essence of capabilities, skillfulness, endowment, influence, she said it will be more fruitful in the power dynamic of the home, which will bring forth great submissiveness with love. Having a powerful husband who's, I think she missed the word here, who is Christ-centered, does well in being the head of this wife, according to Ephesians 5:23. So the power dynamic, she said, in her home is fruitful. Did you catch that?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Here, why don't you read it? Maybe my reading is probably not helping you. That
okay.
Dr. Monica Lloyd.
So she's asking a question. Are you referring to the power dynamic in the sense of control, domineering, or puissance, or in the essence of capability, skillfulness, and endowment, and influence? Okay. For the latter will be more fruitful and power that in the power dynamic of the home, which will bring forth great submissiveness and love. Having a powerful husband who's Christ-centered does well in being the head of his wife. This wife, according to Ephesians. Okay.
You get it? You get it now?
I guess I get it.
Okay. So you understand what she's saying? I told her I would make sure that we read it tonight on the show. So that's what she's saying. It works for her home. So
is she the leader or the pastor of the church? She's
actually under a ministry,
okay.
But I believe her husband has just been dedicated as a pastor.
Gotcha.
And I'm not sure how that works in terms of, hierarchy in that ministry, because there is a head apostle there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but
he does have a leadership position, and so does she.
Okay.
Within the church.
I'm just I'm a pastor. My wife is I'm an apostle. My wife is a pastor, but we're not that at home. I think that's the biggest thing, is that we're not that at home.
Okay. Well, let's see here. I know that Brandy was trying to see if we can get Mr. Hunt to call in. So let's do this real quick. We want to take a quick break, and then we will come back for more of this conversation. Again, you do have time to join in on the topic on tonight with your input. And I'm going to hop on over to YouTube as well to make sure that there are no comments over there. So we're going to take a quick break. Mind, Body, and Soul, and A&D Conversation.
The Lord is here. Oh, how refreshing. Can anybody feel it? The Lord is here. It's so refreshing. The Lord is here. Oh, how refreshing. Ooh. Times of refreshing. Times of refreshing. Times of refreshing. They come from the Lord. The Lord is here. Oh, how refreshing. I know somebody ought to be able to feel it. The Lord is here. It's so refreshing. The Lord is here. Oh, how refreshing. Ooh. He has my peace, and He has all of my joy. And times of refreshing, they come from the Lord. The Lord is here. The Lord is here. Oh, how refreshing. Thank God for Jesus. The Lord is here right now. The Lord is here. It's so refreshing. The Lord is here right now. The Lord is here. Oh, Reach out and touch him. Oh, how refreshing. Anybody feeling in this room? The Lord is here. He's had a blessing for you. It's so refreshing. I feel it all right now. The Lord is here. Oh, how refreshing. I'm refreshing. I'm refreshing. I'm refreshing. I can feel his anointing. Can you feel his power? I can feel his anointing. This very hour. He has my peace. And he has all of my joy. He has my joy. He has my peace. He has my peace. And he has all of my joy. He has my joy. I'm the refreshing. I'm the refreshing. I'm the refreshing. I'm the refreshing. Oh, they come, they come. Somebody ought to praise him. Get ready to praise him.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back. You are listening to My Body and Soul and A&D Conversation. That was so dry.
What? You trying to get me back?
We're back. No, I was talking about me. We're back. Did you guys miss the beginning? Well, it's okay because you can hear the end. We are about an hour, almost a half into the show. And so we have a little bit left. We want to continue on with this conversation on tonight. Let's see here. We're talking about leadership dynamics. Home versus church. All right. You know, we have some crazy stuff going on here with this electronics. But we're going to get it together.
We got it.
We got it?
We got it.
Okay.
So leadership dynamics, home versus church. How does it differ? Do you make adjustments? Wisdom says yes. You make adjustments at home.
Uh-huh.
And I, you know, the thing that came to my mind when this question was posed even was that, you know, I don't walk around in apostolic gear or robed up, you know, at home. I don't do it.
You don't?
And I know it's a mantle. It comes down to a mantle. It's something that is intangible.
Okay.
It's an anointing. I get that. But we all also ought to be anointed to be good husbands and fathers. And if you know, a natural father and an apostolic father, I understand they're both fathers, but they're not exactly the same thing. And so I think that we ought to have the wisdom and the know-how to go in and out of certain realms and deal with people accordingly. I thought about how even growing up and that just dealing with my father, who is my natural father, but he's also my spiritual covering, my apostolic covering. And I remember when I really started, when I came home from college and started integrating myself into ministry, it really hit me then, okay, this is a different man within ministry than he is at home. And so I had to learn.
You said you didn't realize that till you went to college?
Well, it really didn't hit me the major difference.
Okay.
You know, of course you kind of see it, but as I'm integrating myself into his arena, which is the kingdom arena or the church, I'm noticing, okay, he's dealing with me differently from a natural son as opposed to a spiritual son. And there
Okay.
were times when we would talk on the phone, and I would literally sit and wait and listen to him talk to try to figure out who was talking to me.
Wow.
And then once I realized who was talking to me, then I knew how to posture myself and respond, because I didn't want to respond from the wrong place.
That's good stuff.
And so
right
there were certain times when he would call me and say, and we would just start talking. Okay, I know who this is. This is Dad. But then there's certain times where he would call and say, here's what I need you to do. Okay, this is Apostle. And I knew how to respond, you know. And I think that there's certain
You still do that.
I still do that. And I think that there's certain things that we have to do, male or female, within who we are as who we represent in the church, as opposed to who we are at home, because I got to even deal with my children differently at home versus the church. And so it's just wisdom.
Yeah.
It's just wisdom.
And you know that's good. Being a PK, as they call it, I'm sure there are a lot of things you probably had to
Yeah.
adjust to, and
it was I remember it was almost like a slap in my face one time, Annette. And like I said, I had come home from college, and I wanted to talk to Dr. Hunt. I wanted to talk to Dad. I wanted to talk to my daddy.
Right.
And so he's in his office after service, coming down from this place, you know what I mean, from this place. And people are lined up to talk. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm his son. I'm just going to wiggle my way through everybody. Because this is me, you know. And the look he gave me, and he did this.
You probably felt like this.
Oh my God. I you know,
like you figured something off.
pointed me away, you know. And it hit me.
Your
I'm like,
feelings was hurt, wasn't it?
Well, it was more of a shock than hurt. Because it hit me, because it's like, okay, I'm like everybody. I'm a son. I'm a spiritual son, just like everybody else. And so I gotta get in where I fit in. I gotta get in where I fit in. Now, outside of that church, in other arenas, it was totally different. But here, I am Apostle Hunt, and this is the way we're doing things. And if you want to be a part of this spiritual family,
right,
you know, of me raising sons and daughters, and of course that's what I chose. You know, this is, you got to get in line just like everybody else. And so I had to learn the difference between Dr. Hunt, my apostle, and Dr. Hunt, my father, my natural father. And he dealt with me differently, you know, depending on what type of mode of relationship we were having in that moment, because it's going to shift. It's going to shift. And that's another thing that you have to consider, is that leaders have layers. Leaders have layers to turn off. And so if you're that person who doesn't have that added layer, you can look at that spouse, that husband or wife, who is not just a mother or a wife, but she's also a pastor. She's also a prophet. She's also a mentor. She's also this. And because she's so layered, sometimes you can be thrown off by all of her layers, and think that in any given moment you can get, or you're supposed to get, whatever you want out of her, not understanding that she's got to turn off all these other layers.
Yes.
To respond, and she'll do it, but we have to understand that she has to do that
because she's Superwoman.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's like that on both sides.
Right.
Even though I'm the apostle and my wife is the pastor, I yet realize that she's got to turn off certain layers you know. Now in wisdom, she's got to do it. In wisdom, I have to do it, but it still doesn't take away from the fact that it has to be done.
And you have to wait for her to take off those layers.
Yeah, you have to be understanding.
You know,
Now the longer you function in and out of that, the easier that becomes.
right.
But it's still yet something that has to,
Has
be,
to be
done,
done.
and you cannot take for granted that that person doesn't have to go through that.
And you know what? I actually I think that's wonderful that you're even conscious and aware of that. You know, because we are talking about the women in leadership tonight. That you're aware that that's something that has to take place before you can get to, you know, past the CC, the wife.
Yeah.
Or the wife, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So it's because some people, they don't even recognize it.
No.
They don't
No.
recognize, and that I believe that's where the conflict comes in. And they're like, okay, no, you know,
Yeah.
you know, and you're like, wait, ho, I'm still a person first and
Yeah.
foremost. You know, can I react or act?
And it goes back, you know, what we were talking about a couple nights ago, just communication. Certain things have to be communicated. You can't expect your spouse to just know. Sometimes you got to let them know what you have to deal with. Sometimes I was, you know, let's talk about my son one time. I was talking to another leader. See, when that happened with me and Dr. Hunt, I was like 23, 24. So I was old enough to just get it. There was one time, it was after a service, I was talking to another preacher, and my son had to be about 5 or 6 years old. No, 7. I think it was about 7. And he came up to me. Now, these are two, I'm a pastor, this is another pastor we're talking about, and we're engaged in this heavy conversation. And my son comes in and just interrupts, wanting something from his dad. And my instinct, because I was in that mode, type A personality, I you know, go on somewhere. And he looked, now his feelings was hurt. He was 7 and he walked away. But as he was walking away, the father in me just kind of woke up, just sprung. He said, no, you got to correct this right now. And so I said, Benjamin, I said, come back here. And he came back with his head back, his head down. And I said, Benjamin, I said, we're going to talk. I said, but your dad needs to finish this conversation. This is a very important conversation. I said, and allow me to finish this conversation, and then we can talk about whatever you need to talk about. And so I had to come back to the dad.
Yeah.
You know, just so he understood. But just knowing that, okay, he doesn't understand me as a pastor.
Yeah. Yeah.
All he knows is dad.
That's my dad.
You know what I mean? And so at that point, he couldn't comprehend that. And so I'm really making a point that as leaders, we have all these layers. And sometimes, you know, even for us, we have to be cognizant of the fact that there's certain layers that we have to kind of come down from, and certain.
Yeah, because you all are going to have to realize that.
Yeah, we have to realize that.
You know, some people just operate in one mode only,
Mhm.
and they think that that's the mode they're supposed to stay in. You know, God called me into the ministry or whatever, and so I have to be in this mode 24, hours, in the day or whatever, and from sun up to sundown, all I'm doing is speaking in tongue, whatever, what I'm saying, whatever. But you have to, you're still, for last I checked, you're still here. Pinch
You're
yourself.
still in the flesh.
You're right.
The great Martin Luther King Jr. was an awesome man of God, awesome servant to the community, to generations, his generation and generations to come. Awesome speeches and sermons. He had a preaching voice. But I wonder if he had that same preaching voice at home.
Ooh-wee.
You know what I mean?
Now, my children, it's time to come in for dinner.
You know what I mean?
That's a horrible impression with it. But I understand what you're saying.
So he had to turn that off.
Right.
You know what I mean? He had to turn something off to be dad.
Yeah.
To be husband, to be father. And I think whether you're male or female, that's something that you have to understand, that you have to do. I'm the apostle at church. I'm the apostle when it comes to kingdom matters, when it comes to spiritual matters. But at home, this is something different. They need a husband. They need a father.
Right.
They need a mother. he needs a wife.
Yes.
And I think that we cannot allow certain offices and certain positions to go to our heads.
And they will, and the head gets bigger and bigger. Then you have a two-headed monster.
Wow.
Demetri Williams Pitts says here, I experienced the same thing with my son when I was in leadership. It's important that we recognize it as soon as possible. The situation you had with Benjamin. She said, otherwise the child may think mom or dad doesn't care for them. And I agree. I love the way you handle that. And I'm so glad that it snapped off in your head.
Yeah.
I need to correct this.
Because my instinct, see, we have kingdom instincts. We have spiritual instincts. And if we're not careful, we'll stay in that mode, not knowing that the people who are connected to us naturally need something else out of us too. They need, I grew up, I had a father. Why would I take that from my children?
Right.
And as I had to learn that as diligent and as faithful and as hardworking as I am in ministry, I got to be that hardworking as a husband and a father. I got to show up to my children's events.
I love it.
I got to support my wife. I got to be, and so it's just, there has to be balance. You really do have to learn how to balance that.
Yeah. And that's life itself. You guys, we failed to recognize that this is our second live feed here. So thanks to you all that have joined us over here. Audie, we appreciate you. Demetris, Tradana, Nanette Jones, Darnell Leak, Denise Remsen is on, James Randolph, and he's commenting a whole lot on here. We appreciate you. Vanessa Nisi Sims, Muriel, Carolyn McIntyre, Josh Matoya, Janetta Franklin. James Randolph says here, there is so much of a lack of understanding in this area. Yeah. I see you back on, Brandy, Kayla, Lady Iris, Apostle Peters. We're actually heading. Actually, no, I think I did read your comment. Yes. We did read your comment earlier. James also says, thank God for the wisdom of God. You are helping so many others. Demetri also says here, but a whole lot of people have been traumatized and are angry because they never comprehended the difference in being a leader to others and a parent. Because there is a humongous difference.
There's a humongous difference.
And she says so many are traumatized and angry because they don't know it. They don't understand it.
And Apostle Randolph, Apostle Randolph, he asked the question, what wisdom and advice would you give to leaders that are just starting out in ministry? As it relates to this, Jesus said something.
That's a good question.
Jesus said something that, and I'm just kind of paraphrasing it. Any man that come after me that hated not his husband or his wife or his siblings or his children or his mother or his father, they cannot be my disciple. And what he was saying was that, the kingdom is going to come with sacrifices. Anything that you do for the kingdom, sacrifice is going to be connected to it. And so he says, if you come after me, you're going to have to hate these other individuals of the family. But if you really study out the text and study out the word hate, it didn't mean loathe, but it actually meant to love less. So in other words, Jesus is saying, you got to love me more than you love these other people if a decision or a choice has to be made. Now, I think that with certain things like that's in the Bible, that's scripture. Jesus said it, it's written in red. And so, but what does that really mean? I think sometimes we cut off people in our families prematurely when it doesn't have to come to that. Because ministry first, I believe, should start at home. You should,
it better start at home.
It should start at home. And how hypocritical of me would I be if I have a passion for all these souls outside of my home?
See.
But then the ones who I am in contact with on a daily basis, I'm seeing come and go. I am dispassionate about them, and I just let them come, and that's hypocritical.
You've just opened up something else. You really have, because I say that all the time. How are you going to be able to minister to masses and you can't even minister at home? And I mean minister, not meaning take out your Bible at home and start preaching at
Right.
home. There's a way to minister at
Example, being
home.
an example.
Yes.
Being the head, being an
And
example.
then also knowing how to talk to your family, just like you said, knowing how to pull off those layers and knowing who to be at the house. I don't need you coming into the house all the time with your collar on, for everything that's in the house. Now there's sometimes, now I am going to need you to stop and pray at home for,
Right.
maybe I'm in pain,
There,
maybe
yeah,
or whatever.
there
But
are times when things overlap. There are
yes,
times when things overlap. But then there are times when my family just needs a husband and a father.
right.
And what Jesus is saying is, if there comes up, if your family makes you have to choose between me and them, I want you to love me more. Now, here's the messed up part about that, though, where it becomes murky and cloudy, is that ministry is about people. So if I make that choice, then it can appear to my family that I'm choosing other people over them. You know what I mean?
Oh yes.
And so because ministry is about people and about the lives of people and the souls of people, then if I'm saying, okay, I'm going to forsake all and follow God and follow Christ, and I start doing all these things for other people, then my family, who's not of that mindset, to them, they're gonna believe that I made a choice.
Okay, but let me ask you this though. Is that a situation where, okay, you've basically said, you're denying yourself and you're dedicating your soul, dedicated to Christ, and then the family may look and see, okay, because he's so dedicated to Christ, then he's neglecting us. But does that mean that you have not done what you're supposed to do for your family, or does that mean you are doing it, but you're more dedicated to the?
It can be both, but I think here's the remedy to it, though, is that, and this is what I'm trying to do. This is what my endeavor is to not leave my family out.
And see, that's what I wanted to get around to, because if your family sees that you are doing for them, doing for the home, like you're supposed to do in that capacity, if they see that, now if you weren't doing nothing, then yeah, you are putting them ahead of us. But you are doing,
But not only that, and that it's also to this degree that my assignment is our assignment. You know what I mean? So my assignment with the ministry, with the kingdom, this is not just my assignment, is my assignment and Pastor Cece's assignment.
Okay.
It's my assignment and my children's assignment. So now I gotta figure out as a father how to integrate them into my purpose, my destiny, or this assignment that God has given us. Because I think I said it on the show yesterday, as a family, we're really supposed to tap into our potential as a nation. And so we start out as a family, we grow into a nation, which means that they have to be involved in this assignment. And so I can't leave them behind. No, they're a part of this,
Right. I mean, I just want to make sure we ain't so heavily minded, we ain't no earthly good.
Absolutely.
That's the bottom.
Absolutely. And so, but that's the advice that I would give
Those that are
preachers
starting
out early. Don't leave your family out of it. Integrate them into it. Make it the family's assignment. Make them a part of whatever God is doing in you, because that's really what it's supposed to be.
That's beautiful. And that's a perfect response. Yeah. Hopefully he answered your question. I see you guys jumping back in. Jerry Brand, we see you. Carolyn says, and sometimes, did I miss anything else? Okay. She said, and sometimes couples have a struggle and a real problem with competitiveness and jealousy, and will destroy their spouse with words, trying to micromanage their character. Wow. And some use their title to be disrespectful and condescending to their spouse who is not in ministry. Carolyn, where were you earlier? Oh my goodness. That is loaded. That's a loaded statement right there. And it is so true.
It's so true. You have to be careful when you are a ministry gift that there's certain conversations and certain struggles that just like we don't allow our children to see mommy and daddy fighting.
Right.
I don't think leadership should see you. I don't think the saints rather should see leadership, husband and wife who are in leadership fighting or at odds with one another. There's certain conversations that should be done behind closed doors. If it gets too testy, then certain things aren't. You should not keep going with that. Because somewhere somebody's going to be disrespected, and it's going to be in the presence of other people, and then that's going to throw everything off.
It's going to throw it all off, and then you got to try and come back and rectify it. And
then the people got to pick sides,
right?
And it's really going to hurt the ministry. And so she's absolutely right. You really have to don't be that person, male or female.
Please don't.
Who's condescending to their spouse in the presence of other people, or period for that matter, but definitely in the presence of other people.
Yeah. And this competitiveness, that should not be, it shouldn't be. Jealousy. Why are you jealous of your spouse?
It happens.
And I know it does. And then you may have some who, when they got married, one was not in the ministry, but then maybe they became,
right.
That's something else to deal with as well. Because that in and of itself, because now you have to, everything has to change now. Mentality, everything, lifestyle, everything has to change now because they've been called into ministry.
Yeah. And
so this is a whole nother ball game.
Goodness. We see ourselves as people who evolve and grow and change, but we very rarely see or consider the fact that the people who are connected to us also grow, evolve, and change. And so you may have met someone on a certain level, but as they grow, you have to acknowledge their growth and involve, even if it's just psychologically, and treat them accordingly. You can't treat somebody who you met and married at 25 the same way you treated them at 55, because they're a different person now. They ought to be a different person now. And many times, even when it comes to that, you met someone, maybe they weren't pastoring, maybe they weren't an apostle, maybe they weren't in leadership or in ministry, but some kind of way God has taken them into that. You may have met someone who might have been a princess when you met her, but now she's a queen.
Nah.
You know what I mean?
Like me.
And but that's a real thing. I was a prince when you met me.
That's right.
But now I'm a king,
Uh-huh.
but you want to still treat me like
a prince.
Like a prince. That's a whole different mentality. You met someone when they were a little girl. She's a grown woman now. So you have to adjust and you have to treat them accordingly. And so people grow, people evolve, and it's funny. Like I said, we want people to consider our growth,
right? But
we very rarely, we want
others,
right.
All right, Byron Hill, I see you on. Thanks for watching. Okay, Pal, we see you. Tyrone, Natalie. Let's see. Angela Elaine is back on. Carnita Davis, how are you? Okay, Dominic. Pastor Rick. Oh, I didn't see you. Tanya and Erica, we thank you for watching on tonight. And thank you for your input. I see a lot of, comments. I don't want to miss anything. Demetra says here, I know of some children that are falling into bad habits because the leader, did I say this already? Okay. No, I don't think I did. And forgive me if I did. Because the leader neglected to notice the needs of their child. To this point, the adult child is in bad shape because the father or leader left the daily rearing responsibilities to the mother, but that child needed their father.
Wow.
That's some deep stuff.
And the children and the wife or the husband, whatever case it may be, they're hurt. A lot of times it may seem as if they're being difficult, or they're being a problem child or a problem spouse, but really they just want their wife or they just want their husband.
Yes.
And it becomes a balancing act to a certain degree, because like I said, you married this person who has this burden or this weight or this responsibility or this assignment. You have to consider, just like you would consider if they were, a police officer or a fireman, or, if they were in the military. You got to consider this thing that they're connected to. But at the same time, the person that's connected to whatever has considered that we're connected on a whole nother level. And if I don't feed that, that will dry up and die. You know what I mean? You married an apostle, but you need a husband too. I'm married. You may have married a prophet, but at a certain point, you're going to have to show me some wifely duties.
Show me something.
Can
you cook? All right.
A balancing act.
Okay, there are two more comments I want to read. I know we're wrapping up. Jarita on the post earlier said, in her opinion, the power dynamic should be designated for ministry purposes only. If not, it will become the pride dynamic, the dominating dynamic. When you are married, proper roles in the home or household should be maintained, no matter how anointed and appointed the woman of God is. Humility and submission to God's order for the home is the key to a peaceful and successful home. We have our 21st century issues, but we don't solve them independent of the word of God and the influence of the Holy Spirit. When problems and disagreements arise, since we are so anointed, we should be so prayerful. The necessity for wisdom, understanding, and patience is for the benefit of home, your family first, and then for dealing with people or congregants in ministry. The quality of your home life can affect your ability to function in ministry. If your home is out of whack or balance, it can affect how you function as a leader or pastor. The calling of God should never cause division, strife, contention, confusion, nor competition between a man and his wife or the woman of God. Being a good wife and a good mother is pleasing to God, title or no title. Besides, your family is your first ministry. That principle is for male and female ministers. That was a perfect statement.
I like that.
She said a lot in there, and a lot
thorough.
of it, we kind of talked on it tonight. Elder Kevin McGee commented after her and said he agreed with her wholeheartedly. He said the same for that husband who was the pastor. He says, I serve in that capacity, and even though I am the pastor, I am the husband at home. And thereby perform those duties as a husband is supposed to in the home, and the duties of a father to my children. My title means nothing, especially if I get caught up in pride and neglect in the ministry of my own home.
There's certain things, then they hitting it right on the head.
Yes, they are.
There's certain things that at church, now I'm a servant first. Before I'm an apostle, before I'm a pastor, I'm a servant. Which means there is no job to me within ministry that is beneath me. I'll sweep the floor. I'll clean the toilet. I'll take out the trash. I'll do it. And it's not a problem. I don't do it and they got me doing this, but I got people around me though.
I'm above this.
Exactly. I have people around me though who won't allow me to do that. And that's fine. But at home it's different.
Yes.
At home,
It's supposed to be.
Me and my son, we take care of the garbage.
There you go.
It's a whole different mindset. It's a whole different mentality. And I'm able to, the moment I come home, understand that something is different in the dynamic.
There's a shift.
There's a shift.
All right, we're wrapping up. There was another comment. Nina Stacker says she's a woman of God who humbly operates in the wisdom of God and being confident in God's ability to order my steps and his will concerning me. She honors God by loving her husband and fully understanding her assignment as his wife. She's anointed by God to operate in the gifts and talents that he blessed or that he ordained. So they're kind of saying the same thing. They know their places. They have these leadership positions as women of God, but they know their position at home, and they know, and it's important to know that, because in that way you'll know how to operate in whatever capacity that you're in. So we just want to thank each of you on tonight for your time, for your input, your comments, your questions. Those that are hopped onto the Facebook live feed on YouTube and listens on the station's website. So we're going to come back next week. We have a quick announcement for next week. Next week we will only
be on Thursday.
And so you all keep up with us. We'll have our posts out. We're going to move to 1 day a week for A&D Conversation. So we will start that on next week, next Thursday. All right. So make sure you guys stay with us.
Absolutely.
Don't leave us, but stay with us. So you've been listening to Mind, Body, and Soul, an A&D Conversation.
If you need wisdom for the mind and deep down in your soul, tune in for the ride. It's mind, body, and soul. An A&D Conversation.